All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Street Parking Podcast. This episode is an important one at this time of year because we're talking about training and nutrition when you're sick. Now, ideally, in a perfect world, we all want to believe that as long as we're taking care of our health and fitness and we have healthy habits, that we're not going to get sick. And if we do, it'll be short-lived and we'll move on like it's nothing. Well, that's not always going to be the case. And of course, we are going to be set up as best as possible to deal with sickness when it comes, if we have healthy habits. But whether you work in an office situation or you travel for work, or like many of us in the street parking community, you have little kids who are either going to daycare or school or jujitsu practice, there are just germs flying around everywhere, especially this time of year when we're all in close quarters more often. So we thought it would be important because we do see the question a lot on our Facebook group and just in the DMs and emails of, I'm sick. What can I do? What should I do when I'm sick? How can I feel better quicker? How can I maintain my consistency? Should I work out? All of these questions that we get so much. So this is a blog post. This audio goes along with the blog post. So I'm going to do a little bit of reading the actual blog so that those of you who just prefer to listen will get the same information that's in that blog post. But then, of course, whenever I'm doing the chatty version, I always throw in random side stories or examples or things that come to mind as I'm reading through it. So let's get into this and help you guys figure out how to navigate what to do when you're sick. We polled the coaches. We polled Coach DH and Alex and Molly and Chelsea, myself, and said, what are your top tips? What do you encourage people to do? Training while sick, when to keep moving, when to take a break, what to do to feel better soon. You've found your solid routine, consistently working out 3 to 5 days a week and eating balanced meals of protein, carbs, fat, and veggies. You are nailing it, finally. And then, out of nowhere, you find yourself sick, or you're sick again for the second, third, or fourth time this season. In our family, we had a 7-week period. So in our family, there's Julian, myself, our 3 kids, and then Julian's mom, who is with our kids every single day. So for 7 weeks, until literally just a few days ago, maybe 5 days ago, we kept cycling through these 3 different illnesses, and it was constant. And the more, a kid would be sick. So it means now the parents are getting less sleep, and then the parents are sick, and then another kid gets sick, and then that kid gets the first kid sick again. And it just kept cycling through. And I know a lot of you guys with kids feel this. It's like clockwork. Every 3 to 4 weeks, someone is catching something, and then the whole family is sick, throwing the entire household into disarray. We're missing work, feeling unorganized, and definitely less motivated. We get it. Getting sick can be frustrating and stressful. It puts a huge damper on our daily routine and our ability to remain consistent with our fitness and our nutrition. I know for a lot of people, Julian's one of these people. He doesn't feel like eating when he's sick. And I almost, last year we got sick. I'm pretty sure it was COVID. Over like between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we were out of town, so we weren't even home. And it was like pulling teeth to get him to eat and to get him to go outside and move at all. I mean, he was really sick, and his mom was the same way. So I know a lot of times people, they just struggle to get enough food in. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But here are a few tips and answers to your most common questions that you might have while navigating this season. The first and probably most consistent question that we get is, when is it okay to exercise and when should I rest? The first step is to evaluate your symptoms. So you guys may have heard this before. Generally speaking, if your symptoms are above the neck, such as a runny nose, nasal congestion, sneezing, and maybe a minor sore throat, it's usually okay to keep moving, to keep exercising. And I have found that exercising will oftentimes loosen some of that stuff up. However, if you're experiencing much more severe symptoms like a fever, body aches, a really severe sore throat, or vomiting, definitely a fever, Okay. Oh, I already said a fever. It's best to rest until your symptoms reside. So you have to first evaluate, okay, what's actually going on? Is it more of like an upper, like above the neck? I'm stuffed up, but in general, my body feels fine. Or is it like, no, I actually am running a little bit of a fever. I've got body aches. I'm super nauseous. Those are different situations for sure. And our family had like a mixture of those in that 7-week period that I was talking about before. If your symptoms are minor, we would recommend that you stay consistent by incorporating some low intensity movement. The reason we recommend low intensity is that although your symptoms are still minor, we want to keep in mind the overall stress we put on our bodies when exercising. So if we go too hard in a workout, we may run the risk of being sick for a more extended period of time or experiencing more severe symptoms. And this is where you kind of have to like gauge, evaluate how you feel during and after your workout. If the exercise or the workout is making you feel worse after, it's probably better to take it even easier or take a break for a few days before picking it up again. Now, of course, the good news that we have is that most of you guys listening to this, our street parking members, are pretty consistent in doing fitness when you're not sick. And there are so many benefits to that because it has been shown to improve and strengthen our immune systems, to be active and especially to be strong and active, to be, training our heart and training our lungs. So we should deal with sickness better than most people just because we're already very consistent. It has been shown to really strengthen the immune system. But street parking workouts, like the daily workouts specifically, are on the higher intensity side. So even though we're used to it and we have a good immune system and all of that stuff, if you go and push in a workout, even if the symptoms are above the neck, if you really go for it, your body's already under a little bit of stress trying to deal with this illness. That if you are feeling worse afterward, then you probably went too hard. So example of low intensity stuff that you can keep doing, but might be a better option than just going for it in the daily workout. A 20 to 30 minute easy walk. And if that sounds like, well, that's not enough. Like I know I need to take it easier, but I don't know if I want to take it that easy. Throw on a ruck, throw on a weight vest or something. An active recovery session. You can find those in the extra programs under specialty. A ruck session is listed here. So any of those ruck sessions would be a great idea. I love the ruck idea because it's getting outside where, especially if you're getting some good vitamin D, some good sunlight, but just that fresh air has also been shown at really helping strengthen the immune system. A maintenance or yoga session, put on the fireplace and get a little maintenance done in front of the fireplace. Get a little sweaty, but not really breathing heavily or super high heart rate. That could be really good. Or if you want to do a daily workout, do it with lower intensity. Try adding in additional rest, customizing the rounds and reps, and working at a conversational pace. Now, of course, I could just say just do shift, but many of you guys know that shift can be and often is just as intense as the regular program. As a matter of fact, oftentimes you can move even quicker through shift. And so while you might choose a shift version, we would still encourage you to slow down a little bit and add some extra rest and keep it at a conversational pace. Pro tip from Coach Alex when it comes to this, staying plugged into your fitness habit will be super beneficial to your consistency. If you choose to take complete rest, fill the time you would normally exercise with something fitness related, like listening to some of our podcasts, reading a blog, or browsing through the recipes. So keep your mind in it. That's a huge, whether it's you're taking a break because you're sick, or maybe you just haven't been able to work out for some other reason, keeping your mind engaged in your community and in the healthy habits will lead to you being much more likely to be consistent when you're out of whatever it is that you're in. It has also been shown for a lot of times, again, if we have those symptoms that are just above the neck, to make people feel better. So try something and then you're like, okay, that was actually fine. I did the daily workout and it was fine and I'm still sick, but I don't feel worse. Then you're probably fine doing that. Evaluate after each workout that you try to do, but just keep in mind that the last thing that we want is your symptoms lasting longer because you're putting yourself under more stress than is maybe what your body can handle right now. What about nutrition while sick? That's another question that we get. Like, what can I eat? What can I do? Because again, a lot of times people struggle to eat when they're not feeling well. So the old saying goes something like this: feed a cold and starve a fever. But first of all, is that true? And how can I consider eating when I'm sick? So we've got a few tips. Let's see. We've got some good nutrition tips for you. Number one thing that you should think about and consider when you are sick is hydration. Staying hydrated and drinking a lot of fluids could quite possibly be the most important thing to focus on while sick. I would add nutrition related to that, because at the end of this little chat, I'm going to talk about the actual most important thing, most likely. Staying properly hydrated will help balance the water in our body, especially as we are losing fluids. This is important for any type of sickness, but especially important for if you have any sort of fever and you're like sweating a lot, or obviously if you're doing any sort of vomiting. If that is happening, hydration is going to be really important, and it's going to be really hard to get that in. So here's 3 tips on staying hydrated. Number 1, keep your water bottle close. At a minimum, we recommend getting half of your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 200 pounds, 100 ounces of water per day is what we want to shoot for. Now, the problem where people struggle with that so much is that they don't always have water with them. See, I have my little, if you're watching the video version of this, I have my little water. I just have it with me all the time and I sip it all day long. It's not hard to get the ounces in if you're doing that. But if you wait till the end of the day, it can feel daunting to try to get that in. This is just for maintenance. And if you can get in more than that, it will be super helpful, as your body produces additional fluids from a constant runny nose, productive coughing, sweating, etc. Depending on the size of your water bottle, figure out how many you need to drink per day to reach your goal. And that's a tip from Coach DH. Consider supplementing your water with an electrolyte supplement. Electrolytes can help keep the amount of water in your body balanced and are especially important if you're losing essential fluids with vomiting or diarrhea. One of the electrolyte supplements that we like in our home is Element, and it's just the consonants. It's LMNT. They're the little like salt packs. I drink one of those every single day. We're not sponsored by them, or we don't have a partnership with them or anything like that, but it is one that I like, and it's developed by people that I know. So you can check into those, but some sort of electrolyte supplement might be helpful, especially again, if you're losing a lot of fluid through sweat or through vomiting. Another tip is to drink tea. Depending on the type of tea you drink, there can be other added benefits for sure, but nonetheless, another great way to stay hydrated and often very comforting. I know one of the 3 sicknesses that we had going on in our house, I had a very sore throat, and the tea, DH actually made me some tea. And I think in the blog version of this, he included the recipe for this. If not, hit him up on Facebook or on Instagram and ask him for it. But the tea felt very good on my throat. It was a way to get in water. I was sipping on that quite a lot, put it in like a little thermos and had that with me all day as well. You throw some honey in there. The honey is supposed to help, lessen a cough and that sort of thing, to help you sleep, because we're going to get to sleep in a minute. All right. And then let's talk about actual food. So what about nutrition? So we talked about hydration. What about nutrition? Eating while sick is extremely important, yet often very hard to do. Most of us just don't feel like eating when we don't feel well. In many cases, our bodies will tell us that we should, or what we should and shouldn't be eating. By no means should you be forcing yourself to eat a ton of food, but you should try to regularly eat something, even if the portions are a bit smaller than what you might typically consume. Aim for foods that are easier to eat and digest. Now, this is all going to be dependent again on what you're feeling. Obviously, if you're very nauseous and vomiting, you might want to consider taking in a less food, but pretty much anything else, we're going to encourage you guys to continue to eat and get in calories. Your body is under stress, very similar to if you were recovering from a workout or something like that. It requires energy for your body to fight whatever it is, the virus or whatever. So if you're not eating, you're not giving your body the energy that it needs to fight and for your immune system to work properly. So focus on getting the right nutrients into your body when fighting off an illness. Here are a few foods that should help. I won't say will help, should help speed up your recovery. Protein. Prioritize protein intake. This is often the hardest one to get in because we crave comfort foods. I know all we wanted was crackers recently for one of them, and I totally get it. Taking a bit of effort to get in your protein will help with energy and recovery. Ways to incorporate protein easily are in soups, such as chicken soup. Bone broth is fantastic. Protein shakes or even smoothies. If you're not feeling like, sitting down to a nice grilled chicken breast, at least throw some protein powder into a smoothie, especially if you have like a sore throat or something like that. Bone broth can be really comforting. Soups can be really comforting. Put as much as shredded chicken and stuff like that in there as you think that you can handle to get the protein in and maintain protein, because this will obviously aid in recovery, like we're mentioning. But I know a lot of you guys, one of the big concerns where people get very, very panicky and they continue trying to push in workouts and everything is because you feel like you've come so far and you were just feeling like you were starting to nail it. And now it's like this sickness and so you start to worry that you're going to lose all of the muscle that you've gained or all the fitness. First and foremost, just remember, if you're sick for a week or two, you're not going to completely backtrack in your fitness. It'll feel like that when you go to work out again, but it'll come back quickly. But the more that we can do to maintain muscle mass and not be losing lean body mass because we're just completely undernourished, is also important on top of the immune system benefits. Another food or supplement that can help with recovery is garlic and elderberries. These act as an antibiotic and has consistently been found to lessen the severity of colds and other infections. Now, I know a lot of stuff like this, the sooner you get going with things like garlic and elderberries and those types of supplements, immune boosting supplements, as soon as you start to feel even the slightest hint of symptoms, if you can get on top of it, you're going to have a better outcome than if you wait till you're deep in the sickness already. We mentioned it before, but chicken soup provides fluids and electrolytes. It's warm and soothing and may contain anti-inflammatory properties that decrease cold symptoms. If you go to the actual blog, or I know Kim's going to be sending this all out in an email, you can find a link to the street parking chicken soup with ginger and turmeric, which is very tasty. Or you can just go to the members only site and the recipe section and search for that street parking chicken soup with ginger and turmeric. That's going to, something like that. A fresh recipe is going to be better over canned soup that might not have as many nutrients in it. We want to get the good thing about the chicken soup too, is you can throw some veggies in there. So you're getting a protein, you're getting your veggies, you're getting some carbs. It can be somewhat balanced, which would be great. And just eat that for every meal if you need to. Tea, again, steeping fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices that are packed with anti-inflammatory properties is not only soothing, but can help rid ourselves of invading pathogens and help fight off our sickness. Honey works really great as a cough suppressant, as I mentioned. For our kids, listen, I know a lot of you guys have probably picked up on this because I'm a home birth person, but I try to steer myself away from a lot of, I'm not a big medicine person when it can be avoided. There's definitely a time and place for all of it. Okay. But we try with our family to do as much natural stuff as possible before we grab for the NyQuil or anything like that. And let me tell you, at a certain point with the boys, with one of the sicknesses that we had, we were giving them some actual cough medicines and stuff like that. But for as long as possible, and when the symptoms started to come down a little bit, we were using honey a lot to help them sleep, and for ourselves as well in some teas and things like that. Smoothies can be really great. They're a great way to get in some calories while sick and generally easier to eat and digest. We were using smoothies with our kids also because they didn't want to eat. So we were giving a smoothie and some crackers, and that might be the only way that we could get them to eat anything. One great option would be to incorporate a street parking smoothie. There's several recipes for those, again, in the recipe section and on that blog post. They're linked to give your body the nutrient it needs to heal without needing a bunch of food. And those those nutrition tips came from Coach Molly. So we're doing everything that we can. We're fighting off the sickness. We're resting completely if we have like fever, body aches, chills, that sort of thing. Maybe going for some walks. I will always encourage a walk if you can make it happen. I think that there's just something to moving and fresh air. And even if you're pretty not feeling great, I would consider at least going and sitting outside if it's not super, super duper freezing cold. Even if it's a little cold, bundle up. I always feel that that's great advice, and you will feel a little bit better by getting out into the sunshine and the fresh air. If we're above the neck and we're doing some lower intensity stuff, we're doing the nutrition, all fine and good. At some point, you will get better, okay? And so let's talk really quick about how to start back with fitness after being sick. I mean, the main tip here is just take it slow. Whether you decide to take a complete rest or do low intensity movement, we highly recommend that you take it slow. Tip from Coach Chelsea: don't put any expectations on yourself when exercising post-illness. When you start moving again, focus on just that. Move at a conversational pace and move for quality. As you start feeling good, you can slowly start to increase your intensity. So same kind of like approach that you were using when you were sick is like, all right, I'm going to try to push it a little bit today and see what happens. And maybe afterwards you're like, oh, I was actually fine. Or it's like, nope, now I'm coughing again. And not that that's always a bad thing. It might be breaking some stuff up in your lungs, so that might actually be helping. But pay attention to how you're feeling the next day. Change your perspective on how the workout should go and focus on intentional movement. A few examples of how you can take it slower when reintroducing fitness after being sick: customize your workouts to create more rest like you were doing before. Turn the workout into an AMRAP, like a 20-minute AMRAP for quality instead of getting as many reps as possible. So whether that's a workout that has a 20-minute goal time or, and it's 7 rounds or whatever with the goal of 20 minutes, be like, all right, I'm just going to move for 20 minutes and maybe I only get 4 rounds and that's fine. Or if it's already an AMRAP, shoot for quality as opposed to actually trying to get as many rounds as possible. Same thing you can do, with rounds is just shoot for quality as opposed to worrying about hitting those goal times. You can adjust reps or customize movements as needed to keep your heart rate lower. So maybe if the workout calls for 30 cals on the bike or 22 cals on the bike every round, you're like, all right, I'm going to just do 1 minute or 2. I guess that would be 2 minutes. I'm just going to move for 2 minutes and not worry about how many calories that I get and then move on to the next thing. I'm going to use less weight, but not allow that to make me go faster. Still move at a slower pace. Listen to your body and do what feels right for you. Customize and focus on what matters, and that's consistency. Be confident that your consistency is going to pay off. Don't push it while you're sick and don't push it too soon. Just staying on movement in general will pay off and you will feel better sooner, and you're not going to lose a bunch of fitness like I know most of us worry that we are. What else can we be doing? Potentially the most important tip, and I'm excited that we got to this one, that we can provide to get you back to feeling 100% as quickly as possible, costs you nothing. It's not possible for everybody, but it is the best thing that you can do. And that is to sleep as much as you can. Now, if you're like me, it's like, I got to work. I got 3 kids. There's not a lot we can do with our sleep schedule, but just getting into bed as quickly as you can at night, trying to set yourself up to get the best quality of sleep. If you can't extend the quantity, we know it's easier said than done for many of us. But if you can find any window to get a little nap or just a little bit of longer sleep at night, please take it. Sleep is crucial for your body to repair itself, which you need more than ever when you're sick. There are also certain immune processes that take place while you sleep that can strengthen your body's ability to fight off an illness. Last but not least, you guys, don't worry, you will get through this. The mental gymnastics we put on ourselves through worrying that we will lose all we have worked so hard to gain in our fitness isn't going to help matters at all. As a matter of fact, it's just going to make you feel more stressed. And what we want right now is less stress to allow our bodies to fight against the illness. So whether you're able to move through your sickness at a slower pace, or if you're forced to rest completely, remember, life happens. At some point, We're all going to get sick. And so having a plan and being confident in how we're going to move on afterward is the most important thing that we can do. Your one and only goal during this time is to take care of yourself so that you can come back and get back into your routine as quickly as possible. The goal of consistency is a lifelong pursuit and will always come with periods that challenge us or force us to slow down. Focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. If you guys have any super secret tips for how to get over a sickness, if you've got some old family recipe or something like that, we would love to hear about it on the Street Parking members only Facebook group. So hit us up with that stuff and let us know, share with the community your tips. We can't guarantee the tips other people are sharing are legit, by the way, but we would love to see them. The things that have been passed down through your family, through generations, or things that you have found to work. And it's just that time of year. It's the most wonderful time of the year, the holidays, and gosh dang it, my kid just brought another sickness home from school. It's that time. And fitness has got to keep on rolling because it's our habit, it's our lifestyle, and it's not something that we do only when everything's perfect. So hopefully these tips help you guys out. Share them with the rest of the community. Let us know how you are doing this season, and we'll see you next time.